Renike Olusanya, popularly known as Renike. I'm an artist and entrepreneur, but my presentation for today is going to be about all my artworks and how I started from when I was born. So you're going to see a bit of like some throwbacks. Please don't laugh, right? Because that was not my final form. Right. So, so I'll take you through how I started, some past artworks, how I developed my style, and I'm going to be talking about or showing you 3 case studies, 2 book projects, and 1 personal artwork. So yes, let's go. Okay. So, yeah, like I said, my name is Renike. I'm a visual artist and illustrator. That's me when I was very little, quite a stubborn goat. As you can see, I still have the chin. It's still prominent. Yeah. I've done so many things in my life, right? So when people say that I am an artist, I'm like an all-round artist, meaning I've explored every area. I've played instruments, I've acted, I've danced, I've sung, and I've like drawn. And now I think this is like my almost final form. 2-3 years from now, I may be doing another thing, but I'll still be drawing, don't worry. But yeah, I attended the University of Lagos where I studied creative arts and specialized in visual arts, then sub-specialized in graphic design. So that's me dancing, that's me acting, that's me singing, and that's me drawing with my very interesting style. Yeah. So how did I become an artist? They broke my heart. I'm not lying. I'm actually not lying. I come from a family of creatives. So there are people that can dance, there are people that can draw. So I sort of always had this skill. But my first heartbreak, that was when I realized that, I can actually put this talent to use. It hurts. Like people say, the first cut is the deepest. So this was created in 2013 when I had my first heartbreak. I needed like an avenue. You're laughing. I needed an avenue to like pour out all of that I was feeling, and I realized I was like an artist, not just like I can draw. So that was how that started. In 2014, 2015, I started exploring patterns and mandalas. These are all drawn with like pencils and pens. So I was very curious about patterns. I had not known that I was good at doing portraits and stuff, but I knew I liked to draw circles, I liked to draw patterns, and I liked to draw lines. And these were like some of the things that I did then. In 2016, I started exploring digital art. So these were one of my earliest artworks. So it was like combining the patterns and some sort of realism, like putting it in portraits. I think this was the year I also realized I like to draw people. So yeah, that's what this is about. In 2016, I also it was my first introduction to drawing full body figures. These supposedly fashion illustrations. I'm not very proud of them, but I think they look good to an extent. It was an assignment. I told you that I studied graphic art or graphic design in university. And while most of my classmates expressed themselves with photographs and design or art, I sort of found an edge over them because I can get quite competitive. So they would give us assignments. So there was assignments, and then there'll be a jury who would have to present the assignments to. And we're given a graphic design assignment to create a brand or look for a brand and create some sort of maybe a pamphlet or a billboard, like an entire brand identity thing around the brand. And I was the only illustrator in my class. So I decided I don't want to compete with anybody, so I decided to draw everything instead of take pictures of everything. And I used Siciano's designs as my case study. So I created a lookbook with all his designs. I illustrated them, and these are just some of them. In 2017, I started to explore drawing portraits. Started to explore brush work, shadows, lighting, skin work, and all of that, just to see I was trying to figure out my style at this point. So these people exist, so they're just studies, right? I was trying to study proportions and just sort of get it right because I wanted to get to a place where I would be able to draw portraits from my head. And yeah. In 2018, I did my first book cover. The Silence We Eat by Shola Oyindamola. At this point, I didn't know I liked doing book covers. So this babe that I had, how did we meet? We met on Instagram. She likes dodo, and I like dodo, so we connected. So I figured out that she started writing. Thank you. Is it better now? Okay, thank you. So she started writing, and she felt like, do you know, I see you draw and I see what you do. Do you want to create a book cover for me? I was like, I've never done that. I don't know how to do that. And then she sort of sent me the entire manuscript. So I read the whole book to understand what it was about. And while reading the book, this particular scene sort of stuck out for me. The book is about a child experiencing her parents being abusive towards each other. So there was a scene where it was like it described a child behind curtains, just hiding sometime in the evening or at night, and then witnessing these things. And for me, it stuck. So I decided to use that as the cover. And I felt like it had some sort of sync with the title of the book. So I made this the cover, and that's like the printed copy. In 2018, 2019, people realized that I was good at drawing portraits. So they reached out and they were like, you know what, I want my head on another body. Can you do that? And I'm never going to do it again. I'm just letting you know, but it's good work. That's why I'm showing it. It stressed my life. Insights Communications, design agency in Lagos, reached out for International Women's Day for me to draw the amazing Dora Queenly on Dora Milaje's costume. So the Doras are dissimilar. And then, so all of this, it was painted. It took me about 2 weeks each to create this, to get the details, because I tend to obsess about details from time to time. Now I don't feel the same way because it's stressful. So I've decided that I cannot keep myself. This young man here reached out to me on Instagram. I was like, I want to look, serious and strict. And that, so he sent me some pictures. They didn't work, so he came all the way to my office. Then I was still working a 9 to 5. And after I had looked for my references and all of that, I had a mental picture of how his head had to look in the costume. So I took the picture of him right in front of my office and then created this whole thing. And painted it. So after this, I don't know, if you go on my Instagram, you'll never see anything like this because there's absolutely no amount of money you will pay me to go through this stress again. So yes, this was a phase. In 2019, I was reached out to by these women here. Names are quite complicated. I don't think I was put myself through pronouncing everything, but they reached out to me, and that was my first real contact with foreign currency. Because, they saw the first book cover I did for Shola Oyindamola, and these people reached out. I think I'm going to be transparent. Shola paid me 30,000 naira. And I thought, oh, okay. I mean, thank you for believing in me. So Shola paid me 30,000 naira, and then these people came. And they sent me an email, and they were like, they want to do a book cover, women in African cinema. They are so sorry, the money is so small. They want to pay me 500 pounds. I said, 500 pounds? I said, don't worry, I will do it. Because I felt like from 30,000 naira to 500 pounds, that's I was so happy. See, I drew this, as I was drawing it, I was so happy because these people are paying me so much. Then I'm not telling you how much I earn now, but if I earn 500 pounds for a book cover in 2019, then you should know. So yeah. In 2020, I started to explore drawing traditionally. I started to explore drawing traditionally with charcoals, watercolors, and acrylic paints. And I think this was when I felt like I wanted to do something more with my portraits. So I think my style sort of started to show with my traditional artworks before I started doing it with my digital artworks. And this is the evolution of my style. So I created so many portraits until I got here, which is my current style. So yeah, I'll let it play again. Yeah. Moving on, first case study, Besties. This was how I created Besties. I usually start from sketching, then flat colors, shadows, the darkest parts, that's eyebrows and stuff like this. And then I start to put in details. Yeah, so this was how I created Busty. I said Busty. Busty is my brand, by the way. Besties. Yeah, so I wanted it to be sort of like a portrait of a bride and her pets. So the best is the series about the relationship between a bride and their pet on their wedding day, on a day when people usually expect the bride to act a certain way, not do certain things. And I was like, I think it was, did I do this before my brother's wedding or after my brother's wedding? I just felt like, I mean, if you have a good relationship with your pet, why can't you have a portrait with your pet on your wedding day? So that's basically what this is about. And that was how I created that. Second case study, instructions for dancing. I think with book covers, this was like my first big break. I was on Instagram minding my business, and I got, I think, Nicola Yoon. I don't know if you people know Nicola Yoon. If you've seen Everything, Everything, she's the writer of Everything, Everything. The son is also a star. And then a publisher from Penguin Random, a creative director from Penguin Random House reached out and was like, hey, are you interested in doing a book cover? Blah, 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 Nicola Yoon. And I was like, weird, that name sounds familiar. And then I Googled her. Everything, Everything is like one of my best movies ever. And then, I mean, it was an automatic yes. And that was how we started the process. I felt, and then after we had this, or while we were having this conversation, she followed me on Instagram. I was like, because I thought it was a scam. Because I was like, yeah, me minding my business in Nigeria on Instagram, and then a random person from, not like just a random place in the world, thinks I would be like good to create her cover. So I felt really, really honored and super excited to begin. I worked with I don't know what they're called. They do lettering and a creative director. No, I can't do that. Like, look, that's great work. I'm so sorry, I can't do that. The lettering. So what I did all the illustrations and the layout apart from the lettering. And this was how I started. It was a story story about Evie and a male character building their love story through dance. So I had to do some research where I sort of had to create postures or create dancers in postures that sort of represent contemporary dance and then like the ballroom dance, so somewhere in the middle. But you know how the ballroom dance is can be quite exquisite and guided. They didn't want them to look that way because they were young and they were supposed to be carefree. And that was how I came up with this. So this was the first draft. I sent it to the publishing house. They made some requests, and we ended up here. So at this point, I think the person in charge of calligraphy had finished it, so I was supposed to put it in the cover and make everything work. And this was how I did it. So in a way that the dancers are dancing around the calligraphy and the flowers are interacting with the text, so they don't stand alone. And then that was the first color draft, like a nudish type color. It didn't work. They didn't like it. And then we explored more colors until we landed at this, which is the cover for instructions for dancing. They took out the second illustration on the top, but they didn't throw it away. They made it into the paperback. So I had to make some illustrations, some adjustments to that illustration. I mean, the sketch, his hair was up, but they wanted him to look like stunned, and they felt like the hair was a distraction. So we made it work. We just made it work. I didn't do the text, by the way. I'm not that good at doing this. I just, when people reach out, I just tell them, I cannot do it. If I'll go and do nonsense, so just go and tell a professional to do it for you. And that was how I created the covers for Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. Next case study, Girls Can Dream by Jasmine Owens. Now this was, I mean, you can tell I did the text this time. But I wasn't so worried. I wasn't so worried because she wanted something very laid back, something a bit childish. So I was like, yeah, it works. So this was not just the cover. I did the cover and the entire book project for Girls Can Dream. So Girls Can Dream is basically like an A to Z or A to Z of professions that girls can be. So it's basically, you're a black girl, don't let anybody tell you that you can't be this person. You can do whatever you want to do. So that's basically what this book is about. And this is a sketch of how I created the cover. I like to start with sketches because I like when my ideas are clear before I proceed to coloring. There are some artists that just jump into coloring. I don't do that. It's too stressful. Like, it's my mind. No. So I usually start with sketches, and then I color. I start with flat colors, little details, then I build on that. Yeah. So she's just cute, sitting, thinking about all these professions that she can be. So that's basically the inspiration for the cover of Girls Can Dream. She's cute. Very cute. Yeah. And then adding more details, light, shadows. I like to play with lighting and shadows, so that's always going to be in all my work. Yeah. And that was how I created the cover for Girls Can Dream. So when she reached out, she had a particular budget. And the idea was to create a different character for each letter. But our budget wasn't quite like, that's a lot of work to think up. And I think it's something clients don't understand when they reach out and they're like, oh, I want to draw a story. I want you to draw a story about a child that has 17 friends. And then you're thinking, are you aware that these other 17 friends have to be people? They have to have characters. I don't have to develop their characters, but they have to look like they have their own stories. And it's a lot of money. So they usually don't know. They think you're just going to just draw Prince and all of them. But so that was what this woman wanted. And I was like, ma'am, your money is not reaching. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to use the same character, but we're going to switch up their hairstyles and their expressions so they look like different people. So it's the same person with different hairstyles, or the same child with different hairstyles and different expressions. After then, like I said, I like to know exactly what I'm doing before I start. And this was me. So what I did was that after we had defined the professions, so A for aviator, B for blah, blah, blah. So that's A for aviator, F for firefighter, and D for dentist. I started to label like every single part of the character with the colors. I also sent it to the clients because one thing about relating with clients is some of them run away because of this thing. I am very, very detail-oriented. You have to know exactly what you want. I don't believe in people reaching out and being like, oh, express yourself. I'm not expressing myself. If I express myself, I'll be in trouble. Because the back and forth, I don't like it. I also have a contract that states that if it's getting too much, you're going to start paying more. I don't like it. And they usually know. So from the beginning, when like an author reaches out to me and they're like, oh, I want to create a book cover, there's like a long list of questions that I send the author. Target audience, how many pages are in the book? What is Do the pages have muted backgrounds or active backgrounds? Muted backgrounds in the sense that there's nothing happening in the background, it's just blank. Active backgrounds in the sense that I'm drawing houses and all of that, because of course, I need to know how much each page is going to cost so that I don't undersell myself. So there's like a long list of questions. If there's a main character, for example, when people have kids, they tend to want to create books for them. And they reach out like, oh, it's based on my daughter, blah, blah, blah. And also I'm like, you want the main character to be your daughter? So no, just to look like my daughter. And then I'm like, okay, but you have to describe this main character like it's a real person. I need to know, is this character shy? Is this character a nerd? Is she very independent and strong-willed? Because that will help me draw the character so that there is a connection between the characters and the stories. Yeah, so I sent this to her to make sure and to read this back and forth. So I see the colors. So this is the color that I'm coloring this thing. If it doesn't work for you, tell me now. Because once I start coloring, it's going to be harder to make changes. One way I also made each character distinct, even though they are the same characters, by changing their skin tones. Like Ivory, Honey, Toffee, so they look like different people. And this was how I created each character. A for aviator, B for ballerina. Yeah, everything from A to Z. C for chef. D for dentist. Don't worry, I'm not showing you everything, just a few. D for dentist, following that same guide. E for engineer, with a cute Timberlands. F for firefighter. This was my favorite illustration. I really like it. Yeah, she's kind of, yeah. G for amputee gymnast, because she wanted some inclusion. Yeah, so that's just A to G. And then the final color, that's I for investigator, V for veterinarian, and S for scientist. So I did this throughout, making sure each character looks like their own person, even though they are the same character. Yeah, I didn't do this. The graphic designer did this, right? I don't think it's a good job, but it works. It does the job. So this was when they made it print ready. That's J for judge and P for president. Yeah, and this was how they made it print ready. And yes, I think that's the end of this project. Yeah. So thank you for attending my TED Talk. She's me. Look at her. She's busty.